let's talk about the circles. Now, when I'm drawing a Zentangle, a lot of times I just put some squiggly lines on the page and then I just fill it out. This time I want it to kind of be some channels of line. So I've got kind of like a scientific petri dish of lines. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do circles in the channel, and then I'm gonna fill in the blank spaces as dark. And they can be circles or they can be ovals. We're gonna fill this all in, and then we're gonna add some shading and make it go 3D. But I think filling the entire page with these circles is gonna look pretty awesome. So let's give it a go and see what happens. So you can see I got two directions that are kind of orbing together, and what are we gonna do? I can make it sort of a triangular shape, or I can kind of make it a blob shape. And say I don't like that, no big deal. When I go back in and I fill it in with pen, I can alter my shapes. So this is not looking that great, right? It just looks like a bunch of circles. But then what we're gonna do is we're gonna fill in all of these triangles with solid color, which makes it pop. And then we're gonna keep pushing it and put more chains of bubbles in there too, and we'll see how it looks. All right, so I got my first chain of orbs, and one thing I learned while doing it is I kind of like when it has a little dip between the bubbles, and the bubbles feel like they're poking out of the dip. Now I'm gonna take a line and I'm gonna echo that line and add some more. Because my goal is to take this same pattern, push it to the extreme, and see what happens. So you can see I'm having kind of a hard time getting around the edge. I could either fan it out or I can make kind of new shapes. One of the things about drawing on the spot, making it up as you go, is you have to be flexible. You kind of come up with a rule in your head of what you're hoping for, and then you gotta change it as the situation changes. I think that's one of the things that pushes us to be present and focused, is that we find ourselves in these weird situations no matter what you do. You can't plan it all. Can you see it? This is where the magic starts happening, is how they interact with each other, with that really strong solid space of blacked out versus pure white. There creates a lot of visual tension, and it's a lot of energy in the drawing. I find it to be very powerful. You got these, when you're doing Zentangles, you have these teeny tiny lines, repetitive, creating a vibration, but this is bold and strong. They're not messing around. It's very clean cut. This is where a variety of pen shapes matters, is to get those impactfully small shapes. I need a smaller pen. My thickness of pen would have just completely erased those dots. So I'm going to be honest, this is tedious work. This is not like snap your fingers, the computer fills it in. And the point of this is it's kind of a meditation. Meditation, the goal is to be present, to clear your mind and be present. And that's what this is doing. This is clearing your mind to be present. Sometimes your mind will go ahead and free flow about your problems in the day or interesting thoughts that you have, but just like going for a long run or driving a long car ride, your brain starts to quiet and just focus on the here and the now. Your heart rate slows, your breath slows, your body releases its tension, and that's kind of the point. So don't rush it, just enjoy the ride. So I was doing really good with these little peel offs. I started with a squiggle, and then I just started peeling another little channel and another little channel, and then I ran into this big section that I had originally channeled out, And I figured, let's go big, let's go bold, let's do something unexpected, because if you do the expected, the entire page, a lot of times it just feels a little too stagnant. You do all that hard work and it feels just kind of sleepy. So we're gonna do something big and bold and see what happens. We're gonna go another direction. Now I had kind of a storyline. I was big, and then I got tiny, and then big, and then tiny, tiny, big, tiny, tiny, big, tiny. And now I added this nice giant thing that started big and it got even bigger. And so I'm kind of following that with these circles, that I'm going small and then getting bigger this direction, just like that line did. Trying to tie it in. There's safety in numbers. When one thing is completely random and different, it feels out of place. But when you have a few pieces going together, then it feels more intentionally planned. And the secret is none of it's planned. It's all very loosely done on the spot. Now when you get to the edge of the page, it's important not to treat the edge of the page like this is a box. You want to treat the edge of the page like it's continuing to flow into space. And so you have your circles go ahead and fall off the edge if they don't fit on the page. They don't always have to fit on the page. It's better for them to free flow. Many times I will put a piece of paper underneath my paper that extends the edges. That way I can go ahead and just draw my circle all the way off the page so it doesn't feel somehow wrong right on the edge. Like I made this one a little too small because I felt the edge coming and my pen slipped. It didn't continue to follow the pattern. But if I had another piece of paper over there, then I could just draw right over that edge and it would just flow like it had been cut off after the drawing was done. So I had a plan to do this, and now I'm trying to tie the two pieces together. All right, so here I have a giant circle trail that ends right in the middle of the page, and I'm trying to debate if I want to trail it small again or if I want to wrap some small bubbles around it. I'm having a hard time visualizing how I want that to go. One of the things I learned on this journey of this drawing was every time you pick up your pen, you end up with this splotch of a line, this unpredicted crossover on your line. And I've discovered that if I can daisy chain, if I can keep my pen on the paper and not pick it up, then I don't end up with these awkward little bumps in my circles. So if I kind of do loops like cursive O's, and if I double back and fill in my corners without picking up my pen, then I have a lot less flawed little extra splotches. Now the downside is it's harder to precision the correct size of circle, and sometimes you accidentally make a mark in the circle that you just drew. So there's definitely positives and negatives, but right now I'm working in a really small space, so I'm trying not to lift my pen because those little extra bumps added to my circles are going to add up. They're not going to look very good. Unfortunately, when you're drawing this small, your craftsmanship does matter. How much your hand shakes, whether your lines cross over each other, whether you notice when your pen leaves a little awkward mark and if you clean it up or not. It matters. It all adds up on the page. Precision is what pulls the piece together. But we're all going to make mistakes throughout the entire piece, and you never want to throw away the piece just because you don't like where it's at the current moment. You want to keep working with it, because many times we can talk ourselves out of ever finishing a drawing if we just quit every time we make a mistake, because there's going to be lots of mistakes in these little things. This is just a dance on the page. There's going to be awesome new surprises, there's going to be missteps. It's just a dance. It doesn't matter too much. And what's nice about this dance is there's a finished piece in the end. There's a record of the time spent, but we're talking 30 minutes to an hour. We're not talking huge amounts of time. So if you don't like where you're going, keep going. Just give it a chance and see what happens. And remember, if something just looks absolutely awful and is driving you crazy, then just go ahead and fill it in as a solid space, because those solid spaces can look pretty powerful. So what was your weakest element on the page can turn into your strongest element on the page. So I'm drawing these circles a lot like figure eights because I'm trying to minimize the little extra bobbles on the circles. I'm trying to keep it nice and clean since these are so small. My pen is not actually lifting from the page. Alright guys, thanks for watching. That's pretty much my drawing for today. I'm going to go ahead and make a couple videos on how to shade orbs a little bit more in depth in a couple different varieties. And we're going to talk about different ways to do this same pattern a little bit different. What I like about this pattern is it doesn't require a lot of thought. It's pretty easy to do unplanned and an abstract line play. I hope you enjoy it. I would love to see the work that you've been working on. Thanks for watching.